And we are back with another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast, an off day live special. A lot to unpack here today. But Jacob, it's been a while, a little bit over a week. We've seen some Dodger baseball at home. Times are feeling good if you're a Dodgers fan right now, are they not?
Yeah, man, what a fun week. It's been a really good time. Yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers couldn't get off to a better start, and we'll definitely dive into all of the stuff that's happened, how they got to being 8-0, and then who they've done it with and who they've done it without. But I think the best thing or way to start this episode off is the shocking news, I guess, that we got about an hour ago, and that is Freddie Freeman is officially going to the 10-day injured list. They haven't announced a move yet of who's coming up. We'll definitely go over some of the options I at least think that they're going to pick from in that pool. But face value, are you shocked that Freddie Freeman is going to the injured list? Or do you think the Dodgers kind of, they laid the groundwork for the fans and insiders, all that to say, yeah, it's kind of looking that way here?
Yeah, I was surprised personally. I think Freddie Freeman could play tomorrow if he really wanted to. I do think this is more of a precautionary thing. It's April, the team's 8-0. Why risk, especially something like an ankle? I had a very minor ankle injury back in my heyday when I played basketball, and those things linger. So I think it probably is precautionary. I didn't think he was going to end up on the IL, but I'm not too surprised, not too worried about it. I think he'll be back in 10 days. And it's kind of like what we said with the pitchers, like give them time, just make sure they're healthy. I think it's a case of that.
Yeah, I think if anyone obviously hasn't seen the situation with Freeman, it is kind of a funny story. He even joked about it himself because, falling in the shower, you kind of do a little bit of a double look there with that story. But all jokes aside, it's the same ankle that that plagued him in October last year after the division was clinched, where he tripped over Luis Ariz in the first base bag and rolled over on that ankle. And ankle injuries suck. And that one, when it happened in live time, I thought it possibly could have been a broken ankle or something like a minor fracture. He was able to play through it, got worse as the days went on, the weeks went on. The Dodgers going to the World Series, playing every possible game that they could play. It definitely weighed on him, got the offseason surgery. He didn't really want to get it at first. So we got a little bit later in the offseason than usual. I believe it was November, close to December, when he officially went under the knife to get that fixed. Didn't start swinging a bat, almost 1 week, 2 weeks before camp started in February. So I think the Dodgers are being smart here. They're slow playing everything. He missed the first 2 games of the regular season with like a rib issue. That's another injury that plagued him from last season. And then even over the last couple days, they kept him out of the lineup. The Dodgers, in typical Dodger fashion, they find a way to win, and they can win without him. I think looking at it right now, if he's not 100%, they got a couple lefties that they're going to be facing in Philadelphia. They got a Mackenzie Gore is going to be another guy that's going to be starting in D.C. when they go there. So I think if he's not 100%, go with your platoon righties. Kike Hernandez, I'm sure, is going to get the bulk of playing time there at first base. I'm just curious to see who they call up because there's really only 3 or 4 options. I don't think they're going to go shock the world this early in the season and bring up someone like Dalton Rushing. But I'm curious what you think, Jacob, of who they could possibly bring up.
I'd imagine it's Song Kim. I think David Bodie's still around, isn't he? I know he has that option in his contract. I don't know.
I think he's around. He's allowed to look, but when I looked at, because I was thinking that too, I was like, oh, just add David Bodie to the 40-man and bring him up. He can play second, first, third base, whatever. I don't think he's on a roster, and I don't think he's had a plate appearance in either in AAA.
So
But someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But when I was checking it, didn't see it. But I was the first guy I thought of.
David Bodie aside, I'd imagine it's Song Kim. He's playing better baseball down in OKC. He was going through that swing change. It looks like the results have kind of started to be there for them. You kind of have to take that with a grain of salt because it's a very hitter-friendly league down there in AAA. So you do have to take it with a grain of salt, but he's kind of the one that makes sense because you'd imagine it's either Muncy or Kike playing first. So now you need someone who can give you either second or third base, a left-handed bat. good defender. You don't really need his bat because it's going to be more of a depth thing at this point. I think he kind of makes perfect sense for that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the pool, I even put it out on X. You know, looking at the 40-man roster, there's really only a couple options that they can pick from. Hae-Sung Kim is one of them, and I think that probably is the logical one that I think they're going to go with. We'll see in the next probably couple hours, maybe tomorrow morning. Hunter Fiducia, that's another guy. Maybe if they want to roll a 3 catcher unit out there, he does have experience playing first base as well. So if they want to switch it up there instead of having Kike Hernandez play every day there. Ruiz, who they just recently got from the Oakland or the Athletics now.
Yeah.
That's the first time I'm gonna mess that one up. But he is on the 40 man. They just got him situated in AAA, so I don't imagine they're going to get him on another plane ride to Philadelphia and join them on the road trip. And then I threw James Outman in there because last year I figured that would probably be the option that they went with, but at the time I tweeted it out, he was 1 for 20 with almost a dozen strikeouts. He
Yeah.
did get a double in his game today, but our guy Doomsal Mike, he's watching the game because he was trying to get a look at Tony Gonsolin and Evan Phillips in their rehab outing, and it's just lost for Jimmy Outman out there right now, and hopefully he can come out of it. But I just don't think the Dodgers are going to call him up. I think the only option, you look at Hae-Sung Kim, you look at his stats. You said he's hitting well, and I know OKC can be a little bit of a hitter-friendly park, but he's not blowing it out of the water. He's not hitting home runs. He's getting on base, getting singles, couple doubles, 967 OPS, and he's batting 300. He's looked really solid in center. They've had him playing shortstop, second base, can go anywhere. Would definitely give them a nice platoon in center field with Andy Pajes starting against lefties and Kim starting against righties for the next, 6, 7 games until Freeman comes back. And who knows if the Dodgers are being coy with the injury. Maybe it's a little bit worse than what they're letting on. The Dodgers, keep things like this pretty close to the chest. They don't let stuff leak out. So if they want to keep him on the injury list way past the 10-day mark, maybe to the end of April, they are more than capable of a team and a roster to do that.
Yeah, and if it is Kim, you could even consider starting Kim at second or center against righties and then having Edman play the other of second or center. I think it would likely be Kim at second, Edman in center, who really knows. But that's giving you better defense against righties, and Andy Paz's bat hasn't been great so far this year. So that gives you more options with that as well. I don't think James Outman is at this point a major league player. I just don't. If you're 1 for 20 with 10 Ks or whatever it was at AAA, you're not going to be a major league player at this present moment. Fiducia is definitely a possibility. I just don't think his role would be like a third catcher. I don't think they're going to start him at first base. That's kind of the talk of rushing is why not him? They're not going to start Dalton Rushing at first base. So he really doesn't have a place here. That's why Kim makes the most sense to me.
And then the other thing, like to put more water on Dalton Rushing coming up to the big leagues. If it was an extensive injury, like say like Freeman like broke his ankle or had something that's going to keep him out maybe 6 to 7 to 8 weeks, multiple months, then I would say, hey, pull the gun, bring up Rushing, add him to the 40-man roster because that's the whole other part of it is he's not on the 40-man roster yet. He's not Rule 5 eligible. So the Dodgers are going to take advantage of that. They're going to make sure doesn't need to be added to the 40-man until they desperately need him. So I wouldn't call him up to get him, situated. They want him to be at catcher. They made that very adamant in spring training. They said, hey, he's going to get all of his looks at catcher this year. I know they had him in left field, first base, situation last year in AAA when he got the promotion. This year, complete 180 to that. They want him to catch for the long term. Position change maybe in the future. That is possible. Maybe if they want to move him to third base, if his bat plays to get up, I just don't think it's right now is the time for Rushing to get the call. Like I said, I'm in lockstep with you. I believe it's going to be Kim, which is kind of exciting in a way because we were excited to see what he would bring to the
I
major
mean,
league
this
club.
is Gavin Lux's replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were looking forward to saying, all right, well, we saw him get off to a slow start in spring. How long was it realistically going to take him in AAA? And, you know, opportunities come in different shapes and forms, and this could be an opportunity for him to not only make the roster, but if he plays well enough, make a statement, stay on the roster. The Dodgers clearly had a plan. They gave you a multi-year deal to be a part of this roster, not only this year, but for the foreseeable future, whether it's the 2 years or the full 5-year deal if they pick up those options. So I'm hoping Kim gets some runway here over the next couple of days if he is in the one that's called up.
Yeah, and all I'm gonna say is if it is somehow Dalton rushing, we should be very concerned about Freddie Freeman's status. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of we should probably be more concerned about Freddie Freeman than we are excited about Dalton rushing. But I doubt it's gonna be him. I do think it's gonna be Kim. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably find out the corresponding move over the next couple of hours, possibly latest tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
We'll probably get some more clarity on it and everything as well tomorrow afternoon. The Dodgers start their series in Philadelphia, so Dave Roberts will definitely be speaking to the media around, I would say, 4 o'clock here, Eastern time, so 1 o'clock Pacific. So be sure to look out for that on DodgersBeat.com, our website, our socials, everything. Believe those podcasts will have all the updates for that. But let's kind of move gears here. The Dodgers are beginning their first road trip, but they had a really impressive homestand. Historic levels of greatness from this Dodgers team. They're 8-0. Obviously, they had the 2 wins in Japan. They sweep the Detroit Tigers in 3 games, and then they sweep the Atlanta Braves, who they're the only winless team in baseball right now. How are you feeling about the Dodgers right now, especially, after the first, full week of games?
I mean, how could you feel anything other than just overwhelming excitement? I think it's crazy to say, but the Dodgers are 8-0 and they haven't played their best baseball. I don't know how many games Freddie and Mookie have played together. It's less than half probably because Freddie sat all 3, right? And then Mookie sat both in Japan. So less than half the games they've had both of them. We saw the base running in the errors last time out. The offense has been hitting homers, but other than that, not overwhelmingly good. Now the pitching has been spectacular, amazing. The rotation has probably it was like a 2.38 ERA going into yesterday, and Snell technically threw 4 scoreless innings. So it went down even more. The rotation's been awesome. The bullpen has been terrific, and they're just firing on all cylinders. It doesn't feel like they're out of a game at any point right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned, how often have the trio, you mentioned Betts and Freeman, but the whole trio combined, including Otani, they've only played together once this
Wow.
season, and they're 8-0. It seems like it's next man up mentality. Mookie Betts put it perfectly after his walk-off home run the other day, where they're not really looking at yesterday, they're just looking at how to win that game today. And I think that's the reason why they're kind of in this spot right now. Obviously, they wanted to win those games against Detroit. You're celebrating the World Series. You're looking good in the gold uniforms. I will say they did grow on me, especially seeing them
Me too.
in person over there, and then the players actually wearing them on the field. But these stats courtesy of Blake Harris. They've trailed 6 of their 8 games. A starter, as good as they have pitched, they have been a little bit shaky and they haven't gone deep into games. Nobody's pitched into the 6th inning from the starting rotation. And Mookie Betts missed the first 3. Freddie Freeman's missed the, 5 games this season. Otani, he's still doing Otani things, but the Dodgers have had a lot of other players, especially one that I know that you and Scott were super high on last week, and that's Tommy Edman. What are we expecting of Tommy Edman here? I mean, is he going to hit more than 20 home runs than what we were predicting?
I think so. I do. I'm not like it's not just from what he's done. I've kind of started to look into him. His left-handed stance is a lot different than it was. He's making contact with the ball closer to the pitcher than he ever has before. He's up a little in the box. I think Oral was talking on the broadcast about how he's trying to get more power from the left side. So I do think it's sustainable. He has 9 hits, and 8 of them this year have been hit 93 miles per hour or harder, which is insane. The other one was that little blue jam shot that whoever the second baseman tried to deke out Teoscar at first, but he's ripping the ball. Obviously, he's not going to have a 1200 OPS this year, but he's doing this against right-handed pitching, which he's been historically bad against his whole career. He hit the homer off. He hit one off steal, one off scoop ball, but a lot of his damage has come against right-handed pitching. So I'm really excited to see how he does because he's always going to hit lefties, and he's always going to hit lefties. So seeing this from the left side of the plate is really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what Edman did last year against Southpaws, especially in the postseason against the NLC in the NLCS against the New York Mets. You know, taking Sean Manaea deep, winning the MVP of that series. But this year, it just seems like he's taking it up a level. His career high, I tweeted it out yesterday. 13 home runs. He's done that twice, I believe, in 21 or 22 and 23. I If he's on this pace, he's already got four. I imagine we get a few more before April's over, and you're talking about someone that's on pace to hit well over 20 home runs for a guy, who is known primarily before coming to the Dodgers as being an elite defender and a contact hitter. That's what I thought when the Dodgers acquired him. Seems like he's kind of reinvented his game a little bit, similar like what the Dodgers like to do. Get him to lift that ball a little bit more. But if you look at his baseball savant page, I know it's only a couple of games in the season.
A
It's
lot
red.
of red.
It's a lot of red. It's career highs and a lot of stuff. The other thing I really like too is he has saved some Dodger innings defensively, especially that game against the Braves. Couple defensive stops. The backhand to back up Mookie Betts over there who couldn't get the range, which I said that was a reason why I wanted him at second base, and then picking that ball in the dirt from Max Muncy to get the out at second base. I mean, 99th percentile and outs above average right now. He's an elite second baseman, Gold Glover there, can play in elite center field. Could he possibly be, someone they consider for shortstop down the line if, again, like they did last October, if Mookie Betts doesn't work out there? It's a Swiss Army knife of a Taylor or of a player. I would say it's like Chris Taylor on steroids right now. Chris Taylor had a really good peak in Dodger blue. Obviously, we know the player he is right now, but Tommy Edman's kind of the complete package. He has the speed, defense, and if he can add the power, I mean, that's just a steal for his contract that he signed with that extension.
Yeah, I thought it was a steal as soon as he signed it. I don't know the exact AAV of it off the top of my head, but I this is a guy who's gonna, if he stays healthy, put up at least 4 WAR every season. He's a winning player. It seems like he finds a way to make a winning play every single game. He's exactly who you want. They love to harp on the fact that he's a coach's kid and all that, but it's true. He does everything you want a guy to do on the baseball field, and so far it's wielding terrific results.
And then I think the biggest thing about the Brave series is we got to see two arms come back, and that was Tyler Glass now to kick it off. He looked excellent in his debut. The home plate umpire, the home plate officiating crew was kind of all over the place for both sides, which is rare to say, but it was clearly bad for the game again for Glass. Now it was really bad for Snell too, and you saw him getting frustrated there. But Glass now looked sharp. 5 innings, I believe, 8 strikeouts. Looked good. Came out of it healthy. I wrote an article about him and his thought process of going into the offseason and trying to stay healthy. Hopefully he's made the adjustments and we see him make multiple starts, 20 plus starts, and is available in October. And I would say an even bigger comeback story is Dustin May returning to the mound. Overall thoughts on these two guys returning, looking filthy. I mean, those are the Dodgers' fourth and fifth starters right now. They haven't added Otani to that rotation yet. I mean, it's going to cause a competition between everybody in that rotation, but those two at the back is a scary sight for the National League, Major League Baseball, and the Atlanta Braves got to see it firsthand.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous that those guys are your fourth and fifth starters. I mean, Glasnow started opening day last year, for context, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, it's disgusting. I don't know how they changed Glasnow necessarily, but it seems like the ball's just popping out of his hand more than it was before. I I have no science or numbers to back it up. This is just the eye test. The ball's popping out of his hand. It just looks so much better coming out. I know Joe and Oral were touching on that a lot during the game, but the way the ball's coming out, it's coming out crisper. more firm. I don't even have the words to really explain it. It just looks better. His off speed looked sharp. He dealt with walks, I believe, a little bit. I don't have the line pulled up here, but I think he walked a couple guys. And Dustin May, that was just such an awesome story. Strikes out the side in his first inning back. He also struggled with walks a little bit. I think that's going to be a problem more consistently than it's going to be for Tyler Glasnow this year. But you love to see May get through 5. He looked really good. His sinker's still amazing, and his sweeper, his new curveball, is going to be one of the best sweepers in baseball this year. So it was really encouraging, really awesome, and this rotation's so much fun.
Yeah, keep continuing with Dustin May here. His first inning, since May of 2023, strikes out the side, and he showcased all of it. He showcased the fastball, showcased the off-speed stuff, the sweeper, slider, whatever the hell they're calling it right now. Especially year after year, we get more advanced metrics and analytics on these pitches. Had over 3,000 RPM on those pitches. That's going to play whatever velocity. And that's the thing I noticed is, couple years ago, you look at Dustin May, maybe he would just try to, gas you up, throw 198 miles per hour was his average. I prefer him to stay healthy. And if he wants to stay at around 96, 97, I'm perfectly A-okay with that, because that's kind of going into what Glass now alluded to in his interview after the game, where the changes that he made were kind of himself. And then the Dodgers pitching coaches, they kind of agree with it, Mark Pryor. And it was just, he eliminated the weighted balls, which I have heard, some pitchers, that I've had a relationship, whether at the college and high school level, that if they throw the poly balls or the weighted balls, they kind of feel more elbow pain than they do when they don't throw it. And that's kind of been an emphasis over the last 10 years where, all right, we're going to throw the weighted balls. We're going to, do extensive long toss. We're going to do the poly throws. We're going to make sure that we can get as much velocity as we can to make this baseball feel as light as possible and come out of our hands. Glass now kind of went with the opposite approach now, the traditional approach, I would say. He said he starts out with, light warm-up tosses, and then he inches out to like 60, 90, 120, 225 feet, and doesn't just try to overexert himself. And I think that with someone like both of these guys, because May also said that he's changed the way he's been throwing and warming up during his off days in the off season, is less effort and let the pitches just do their work. Because like I said, their pitches have spin. They're still fast in terms of velocity, and the less stress on their arms, the better. Because both of those guys have pretty violent,
Yeah.
arm slots. They're releasing the balls pretty hard out of their hands. You see Dustin May, he's pretty much bouncing up off the mound when he releases the ball. Glass now, it looks like he's throwing it as hard as he can. And maybe that's the reason why that he's had injury problems the past couple of years. And he even said, going into this offseason, it was the most he's ever looked at his mechanics in his career. And you can tell he wants to be out there for the long haul. And same thing with Dustin May. Dustin May hasn't pitched more than like 10 starts in a season. The most innings he's ever pitched was in 2020 when they only played 60 games. That's the most we've ever seen of Dustin May in the shortest season of my lifetime. So clearly the Dodgers, they want to have these guys healthy. They're definitely playing it slow, only going 5 innings at a time. But to have those two guys back and the changes, I think is going to definitely pay out well for them and the organization.
Yeah, for context, Dustin May's already 10%, or about 10% on the way to his career high in innings pitched. So not much. It's 56, so a little less than 10%. But yeah, they both are, like I said, very torquey in their deliveries. There's a lot going on there, but if they can stay healthy, I mean, this is the best rotation to ever exist. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and we'll go in with it because Kevin mentioned it on X right now. Roki Sasaki didn't have the best start in his second start in the majors. Struggled with command. Velocity was down compared from his start in Tokyo to the start in the States. I know you've delved into it. There was a lot of controversy over, his
Oh yeah.
emotions and feeling flustered. former all-star catcher, calling him soft. I'm sure, we'll definitely get into that during the Phillies series before his upcoming start. But your overall impression of what Sasaki was dealing with that start, and what do you expect from him in a crowd like Philly that he's going to get on Saturday?
Yeah, you know me. I've always been super high on Sasaki. This is the least high I've been. Now that doesn't mean I'm down on Sasaki, but I wasn't encouraged by the velocity being down, the inability to throw strikes. More so the velocity I think was concerning me because the velocity was down and he still couldn't throw strikes. So that's just not ideal. It's going to be tough in Philly, but you grow through what you go through. That's something my dad used to always tell me. I think this whole crying thing, all that, whatever, he probably doesn't even know what's happening. But I think these experiences are going to be good for him. He's going to learn from it. At the end of the day, this is a 23-year-old dude. Like he's not old at all. Basically he's not a minor leaguer, but his development is kind of similar to that of a minor leaguer. So it's going to take some work. Now, to address Kevin's question and the whole reliever thing, if he wants to be a starter way in the this is like later in the year, he's going to need another pitch. But right now, we need to focus on getting his 3 pitches near the strike zone. And he hasn't been able to do that, and that's concerning. But I'm not too concerned in the long run. There was a lot at play there. First start at Dodger Stadium, still trying to learn how to get major league hitters out. So I'm not overly concerned, but I'm not as happy and peppy about Roki Sasaki as I have been.
Well, I'll even let you go a little bit further into this. What is his best pitch right now? Because it seems like whenever he does locate the fastball, I mean, when you're dotting it up as hard as he throws it, that's probably an above average pitch. The splitter is obviously the go to thing that is definitely the sexy pitch, graded out as an 80, for per MLB pipeline. And then that third pitch just, is it going to be a slider sweeper combination? Is it going to be something else? What has he been throwing this year? What is he like? What have you seen that it looks like is his best pitch?
I mean, this year it's really been tough. Just because he hasn't the the splitter is far and away his best pitch, but it's not his best pitch if he can't throw it anywhere near the strike zone. And that's what the problem's been this year is hitters haven't had to respect that splitter. It's a ball straight out of hand, or if pretty much if hitters see anything with and well, usually you'd say if you see spin, let it go. If you see no spin in this case, it's probably going to be a ball. So it's easier to lay off. And it's going to, if he can't throw that splitter for a strike, the fastball is going to get pieced. And if the fastball's sitting at 96, it's going to get hit hard. That's kind of what people call a dead zone fastball. He needs the velocity. He needs it to be 99, 100 for it to be a league average or above fastball. It's not a good fastball at 95, 96. So that's where a lot of my concerns come from. He's used the fastball 40% of the time, splitter 25% of the time. I'm scared to look at what the strike rates are on those pitches. He hasn't been able to throw anything for a strike. And again, he's made 2 starts and thrown a combined like 2 2/3. Or sorry, he threw how many innings did he throw in Japan?
I think he got into the second and he finished 2 full innings, but it was a kind of a dramatic, fashion. Threw almost like 50 pitches, walked a bunch of batters, but got out of it
It
unscathed.
was 3, wasn't it? Wasn't it like 5 walks in 3 innings?
Yeah, something along those lines. It was a start against Atlanta where it looked like he just didn't have anything. He
Yeah.
he got removed during the second inning, walked multiple I think he had like 4 walks that game. Clearly nothing was coming out of the hand. He didn't look right. Fortunately for him, the Dodgers offense, they were playing well. They weren't going to lose that game. So he has the teams back there. It's just about command. Like you said, I just feel like he has to command, and him doing it on the road, I don't know how much it's going to improve, but he is a professional, so he's definitely going to try. And it just happens to be in a very hostile crowd. I'm here on the East Coast in by Philadelphia. I know how the crowd is. I know how the fans are, and I know they're itching for this start. They're itching to get to, the away bullpen is right at the top next to the concourse. So
Yeah.
before the game, when he's warming up, they will be chirping at him. I don't know if he'll definitely try to zone it out, but when you got all the eyes on you right now, you're the talk of baseball with the Dodgers. People are expecting results. Maybe not the fans necessarily. I feel like most Dodger fans are pretty open, like, hey, it's a work in progress. I know there was a lot of emphasis on him getting booed at Dodger Stadium. I don't think it was that at all. Him specifically getting booed. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of him maybe wanting to do too much right now, and I think that's where you get the emotion side of everything. That's where you got former players coming at him, calling him soft and all that stuff. And I know how you feel about that. If you want to elaborate even more.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, it was like 12:30 in the morning. I was just about to go to bed and I saw the video of like Roki teary-eyed. So I I tweeted it, posted it, and I was like, I don't think this is like a place of softness. I think it's just someone who really wants to be great. And I've kind of again, I've never done anything at the level that Roki Sasaki has. But if I was getting shots up in the basketball gym and I wasn't hitting shots, I would get pissed off. And there were times where I got near tears because I was just so angry at myself for not hitting shots. So I kind of related to that. And then I like replied and I said, like, if you think this makes him soft, you're a problem, something like that. And I got quote tweeted by Jonathan Lucroy. It was this whole rant about how it is soft and he has to adjust or he's going to be a failure. I don't have it right here, but it was a lot. It blew up. It went in Sports Illustrated. So that was awesome. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see that as a sign of weakness or softness. I really see it as he wants to be great and he was probably very frustrated with himself. He wasn't crying because people were booing him. I don't know who said that. I don't know who started that rumor. There might have been 5 total people at Dodger Stadium booing. So I don't know where that came from. And you do have to consider like the cultural differences between baseball in Japan and baseball in America. And and crying is a lot more widely accepted in Japan. They don't see it as a sign of weakness as much as we might in America. So there is something with that too. Long story short, I'll end my rant. He's a very passionate guy. He wants to be great. And I don't think the crying is a sign of him breaking down or he's not going to be able to make it. I think it's I want to be great and I let people down and that pisses me off. That's kind of how I read that.
Yeah, and I don't anyone can correct me if I'm wrong if they're familiar with Japanese media. I believe they asked him if he was crying in the dugout, yeah, and just to be straight up, and he denied it. And if you
Yeah.
look at it, it could be a lot of things. He could have been teary-eyed, his eyes were a little,
Allergies.
glossy. Could have been allergies, could have been sweat. I mean, you're throwing that many pitches, if I'm out there in, the California sun, no matter if it's spring or whatever, you're throwing 50 pitches and walking a bunch of guys and you're obviously stressed out. And I get back to the dugout, maybe I got a little bit of sweat on my forehead and it's coming down. Whatever it is, I don't think it was a bad look for him. I don't. At the end of the day, if it was him being emotional, it just means that he cares. That's how. As long as he cares, he wants to be the best he can be. He's obviously going to learn from it, and I know for a fact that he will learn from it. People will talk to him about it. At first, when I was reading the interview, it looked like when he gave one, he didn't even give the ball to Dave Roberts, which usually that's like a red flag in like the terms of like the unwritten rules in baseball. You always give the ball to your manager. You don't want to Trevor Bauer it and throw it, straight up way center field. He just kept it in his glove, forgot it, gave it to the ball boy. Then he started walking in the tunnel to the clubhouse, and it was Dave Roberts that brought him back to the the dugout on the railing to kind of watch the rest of the inning unfold, and then have peace of mind and clarity afterward. We saw Yamamoto talking to him. We saw Blake Snell having a conversation with him as well. They clearly are going to get a message across and maybe give him some pointers to what he needs to do in, especially in the start in Philadelphia, because that's going to be a team that the Dodgers could possibly see in October. And Sasaki, for as good as he is right now or as bad as he is right now, he is in the Dodgers' plans to be a part of the team when it counts in October. So you just got to hope that he works through it. And I think most Dodger fans, I would say 95%, maybe even more, knew that Sasaki was a work in progress. I don't think any of us expected him to be a Cy Young contender in year one. I mean, Yamamoto, he was a little bit more, experienced because he has a couple more years under his belt in the MPB. But even he took a little bit of an adjustment period. I would even say until probably that start at Yankee Stadium was like where he kind of put it all together, and then he went on the IL. And then his first postseason start wasn't the best. And then, he has a chat with Kike Hernandez, which we learned from David Vassay the other day. And he looks lights out the rest of the way, and he looks really good this year to kick it off. So it doesn't happen instantly, but I wouldn't be worried about Sasaki at all, especially when you pointed it out. He has to add that third pitch. This is something that, future Hall of Famer Clayton Kershaw went through. And what did he do? He learned how to throw a slider, and that ended up becoming his best pitch. So that could be all Sasaki it just needs to do.
Yeah, long term, he's going to need to add probably 2 pitches. Some sort of sinker for sure, because that's just kind of his arm moves naturally in that way with that splitter, and probably a cutter as well. The last thing I'm really going to say about it, first of all, 2 things. He probably wanted to go into the clubhouse and smack the shit out of a cooler or something. So would you rather him shed a little tears on the top step or break his hand on a cooler? That's number one. And number two, would you rather have that or Anthony Rendon, who doesn't care about baseball? I'm taking Roki Sasaki getting emotional or not. I'm on the top step 10 times out of 10. I'm still going to ride with that dude. He's a young stud. He just has some work to do, but he's going to get there.
Yeah. And then keeping with the Phillies series that's coming up right now that we'll preview a little bit. 2 really good teams. I saw the Phillies close in hand last year. For the most of the season, they had the best record, not only in the National League, but all of Major League Baseball. The Dodgers caught them in that last month of games where the Phillies kind of stumbled on themselves and then ended up being, first round exits to the New York Mets. It's the first marquee matchup of the season, you could say. The Dodgers are 8-0, the Phillies are 5-1, both getting off to really good starts. Both have really high expectations. The Phillies kind of are, that's been the concern over here on the East Coast or in the Philly area, is that this is possibly the last, time they can go all in with this group of players that they have. They're all either on expiring deals or they're all in their mid 30s or getting close to their mid 30s where everything's going down. And obviously the Dodgers are going to be missing Freddie Freeman. The Phillies don't have too many injuries on their front. But what are you expecting from this series? I mean, we got the primetime Apple TV on Friday, and then, you got the Fox Sports games on Saturday, and then the traditional broadcasting teams on Sunday. But seeing the Phillies here this early in the season, a team that kind of dominated the Dodgers last year. I think they won the season series, I think 1-5. I think the Dodgers only won 1 game, and that was in Los Angeles. I was in there last year when it was at Citizens Bank Park. It was the worst time of
I
my life.
remember
Bobby
getting
Miller
old.
probably gave up like 100 runs. I can't. I try to get that out of my memory. But seeing the Phillies this early in the year, still a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, do you have the probables pulled up? Do you know who's going for
Yes.
Philadelphia?
So it's a lot of good matchups, especially for the Dodgers side. They kind of got their,
I
their
know
aces
ours.
going.
Yeah.
For the Phillies, or for game one, it'll be Yamamoto versus Jesus Luzardo. Very good, crafty, young left-handed hitter or pitcher. So another lefty the Dodgers will have to go up against. Game two, Roki Sasaki versus Aaron Nola, veteran righty. Knows how to, dice up some really good lineups, but did get beat up hard, I believe, against, I forget who they were facing first in this season, but he has an 8.44 ERA. And then last game, rubber match game potentially, Tyler Glasnow versus young Christopher Sanchez, another lefty. So the Dodgers getting a plethora of lefties over this entire road trip. Like I said, they're going to face those two, and then in DC they'll get Mackenzie Gore as well. So someone's going to have to step up big. Andy Pajes, we're looking at your name, so get a big hit there. But a lot of good pitching matchups, I would say.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Again, we've talked about the Dodgers and Sasaki. I think Yamamoto's going to go out there and do what he does. He kind of thrives in those atmospheres, I feel like. We saw that in New York multiple times last year in the regular season on Fox and on the World Series. That these are the two best rotations in baseball going at it. I would say so. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The Dodgers are going to have to hit, and they're probably going to have to hit better than they have been hitting up to this point. It We're going to see Chris Taylor probably at least one time. I'd imagine Austin Barnes gets out there too. Some Rojas run. Everyone loves some good Rojas run, right? So it's going to be fun. Yeah, it sucks that Freddie's not playing, but we have some vengeance to get back from that horrific series last year. I do remember the Bobby Miller start. We lost power because it's when some hurricane hit Houston last year. So I had no power, and I was sitting in a Bex Prime watching, and it was just home run, 105-mile-per-hour double, run. It was very frustrating. So I'm hoping the Dodgers figure it out this year, and they're also in a much better spot with their roster at this point in the season than they were when they played at Citizens Bank Park last year.
Yeah, I was watching MLB Network today. The Phillies owner John Middleton, he was going on there, and they were trying to say, well, what team's going to beat the Dodgers? Like who's got to? And he stated it pretty well. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And he did mention that the Dodgers and the Phillies did kind of take the season series pretty handedly last year. But I agree with what you said, and this is kind of my argument to all of it. They just caught him at the wrong time. They got him in mid-July when the team was injury riddled to hell and kind of in disarray, getting ready to get to the All-Star break. We all know how that All-Star going into that All-Star break ended. Blown save after blown save, piss poor pitching performance after piss poor pitching performance. And then in August, they're starting to get some of their players back. Kershaw, Glasnow. That was one of Glasnow's final starts in August. So they got him at the right time. Right now, modestly healthy. Obviously, Freeman won't be there for this series, but hey, the Dodgers don't have to face, Zach Wheeler, who is arguably probably the best pitcher in the National League. It would be up to, between him, Sale, and then Skeens on the Pirates. So I think it's going to be a good series. The one guy I'm looking at is Luzardo, because this is the guy, lefty, crafty lefty, diced up. I think he had 11 or 12 strikeouts the other day in his first start for the Phillies. But I mean, the Dodgers are going to have to step up and hit a lot better than what they have been. They don't have Freddie Freeman, who hits both lefties and righties well. Andy Paz, Miguel Rojas is a Phillies killer. He has a really good career batting average and line against them from his time on the Marlins, playing on them all the time. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really good series, and I think it deserves the primetime attention it's going to get.
Yeah, I enjoy playing in prime time. I also, being someone from the Central Time Zone, love when the Dodgers play on the East Coast. I'm sure you do too. Those 9 for me, 10 p.m. start games suck. So I love East Coast games, and usually East Coast games come with a lot of attention because it's usually good teams. I actually kind of enjoy the Apple TV broadcast. I'm gonna say it. The cameras are cool.
They're
Uh,
better. High definition. You started posting stuff about the Apple documentary, which if anyone hasn't watched that, get a free subscription to Apple TV Plus. Watch the World Series documentary. It'll give you chills, especially that first episode. But I'm a guy. For full high definition, 4K cameras. I got a TV that plays it. I paid for it. I want to watch it in 4K or a little bit over that. So Apple always looks good on their broadcast. The announcers are so, but what I like about it is they let you transfer it to like the radio, and it's pretty well
oh
synced
yeah.
up. So I think that's a good added feature.
I gotta say, I hate the strikeout probability or base hit probability thing they put in the top
Yeah.
right corner. It's never right. Like you go from 0-1 to 0-2 and your base hit probability increases. But other than that, the Apple TV broadcast, I'm glad I said it and you agreed with me because I actually kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, so they'll be on Apple tomorrow, Friday exclusively on there. I believe the Saturday, even though it is a national game, on FS1, I think it's on SNLA as well. And then the Sunday game is traditional broadcast. And then after that, they're going to be heading to Washington, D.C., getting ready to visit the White House. I'm sure that's going to be a fun day on Monday when they do that. We'll probably have something else come out before then and go over all that. But I think we can get ready to end the episode with a fun one here that's been the talk of baseball all over anywhere you go. You're looking at offense, you're looking at the New York Yankees, you're looking in the Bronx, the Torpedo Bats. The Torpedo Bats, they're in full swing and manufacturing wise. Players in the Dodgers have been asking for him. I believe Max Muncy used one. I think he used it in a game yesterday, right?
I think he did, and then he went away from it when he got the hit, I think
Okay.
is what I saw.
Okay, yeah. So couple players in the Dodgers ordered them. I know a couple players in the Phillies that use Marucci and Victus. They asked for them as well. But the New York Yankees are the ones that have really made it. Made headlines because of the beatdown they put on the Milwaukee Brewers in those last two games of that series. Pretty much, I think they hit like almost 15 home runs in those two games. Aaron Judge, even though he doesn't use it, he hit like 4 in those two games. Overall thoughts on it? It's a little quirky, but is it something that you're worried is going to ruin the game, or are you kind of just like, it's just a different type of bat variation, like Trevor Bluth from Talking Baseball is saying?
Yeah, I wanted to buy into the hype at first. I wanted there to be this new cool invention that some MIT guy came up with. I think the Brewers pitching staff just sucks. And looking into like I heard the Plouffe little tangent about it. I kind of agree with him. It's just a different kind of bat. It in theory could be better for guys that don't necessarily barrel the ball up as much, but when they do barrel the ball up, the not going to go as far. So I don't think it's providing some sort of unfair advantage. I think it's well within the rules. Well, it is well within the rules, but I think it will remain well within the rules. Major League Baseball is not going to do anything about it. I had fun playing along, posting the pictures and seeing how people reacted to it, but I really don't think it's a big deal. I think it'll be a non-story in a couple weeks. It's just kind of it's new, but it's not like game changing.
When I saw the concepts, and I'm someone that's played baseball my entire life. There's a lot of gimmicky things that is in the world of baseball, especially in like the training aspects.
Yeah.
It kind of just reminded me of like a training bat. Like, hey, you want your barrel to be here. All they did was lower the barrel a little bit closer to the label, and it's worked well for certain players. I think that's what it is. It's some players like it, some players don't. And the one guy that I think has definitely like gotten the good end of all of this is Anthony Volpe,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
3.9% barrel rate last year, almost 22% this year since the start of the season. So clearly it's worked well with his swing. And even the Yankees, they were saying it, Aaron Boone in his interviews, and he was saying, you can't just order the bat because they're all different per player, at least on the New York Yankees side, where they have their analytical team has looked and say, hey, your swing, your path, your everything with your all of the stuff with your swing is saying you hit the ball better here. So let's just move, the barrel a little bit down. So it's worked well for them. More and more players are going to start using it. I know Alex Bregman's going to use it. A couple of players have already been using it. My big takeaway from it is how many players in the Dodgers are going to try to use it. I don't think not many. They already asked Mookie Betts. He said no. Freddie Freeman said, my stats pretty much speak for themselves. A very similar answer to, Aaron Judge when they asked him in New York. And then Otani was even asked by the Japanese media, and he kind of gave the same answer. He said, hey, I swing comfortably with my bat right here. And you saw the walk-off homer he hit the other day. It was a pitch on the black outside, and he took it away for, a home run to walk it off. So I think he's fine with his swing. I don't think it's going to be a big story this, late in the season, maybe even next month. It is funny though to see these type of bats too. There's just an odd look with them, especially the lighter grain. Like if
Yeah.
it's like a tan, like you can kind of see the bulge. But if it's like a black bat, or like a very dark brown, it's very indistinguishable to my eyes on the field.
Yeah, you can't really tell. I know there's some pictures, like there's one where it was like a torpedo bat next to another like a normal one, but the normal one was black with a dark background. I think that picture was a little misleading. I posted it. Why not? It kind of blew up a little bit. But yeah, I think it's kind of been blown out of proportion because Aaron Judge did Aaron Judge things and had a 3 homer game. Anthony Volpe's kind of been the face of the Torpedo bats. He's hit 4 homers this year, but I think only 2 of them would have been homers at Dodger Stadium. It was like 1 at Oracle, 1 at Wrigley. They've been short porch homers. I really don't think this is going to be much of a story, but if it can get a couple of the guys on the Dodgers hitting a couple of those right-handed bats, then I'm all on board for the Torpedo bats.
Yeah, I think some players should just try to, see what works. Chris Taylor, give it a crack. See if it works. See if it's your cup of tea. Start swinging a little bit better. You're going to be playing more, according to Jacob, with Freeman out, a couple lefties on the mound. So got to get your stats up with those. But I'm just curious to see which players use it, how long they use it for. Like everyone's saying in the comments, Muncy did use it for 1 at-bat, struck out with it, I believe, and then used his regular bat to get that game-tying RBI double. So I think it's just a touch and feel thing. Someone else, I believe Don Kim, he put it in the chat. It's like getting fitted for golf clubs, which I think that's what I've seen on social media as well. Is it's kind of just like that. It's just a different variation of what's already legal. And I think that's the big thing about all of this is people are questioning the validity. Like, should it be a thing in baseball? It's already checked by the manufacturer, Major League Baseball, and the Major League Baseball Players Association. So there's nothing that they're going to ban this year, regardless of what stats go up or down. So it's just going to be something we're going to see more and more of over at least the first 2 months of the season. After that, I think players are going to get an idea if they like the bat or don't like the bat.
Yeah. Again, I completely agree. It's like getting fitted for golf clubs. There's also there's already different kinds of baseball bats for different people. This isn't necessarily a new concept. It's just kind of the barrel movement is a new concept, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
And that's the thing, everyone likes a different bat, like the bat I like to swing, I'm in a wood bat league, end loaded, a little bit of a thicker handle, flared knob. Some people like a pencil thin knob and a more balanced bat for a contact hitter. That's the same thing in Major League Baseball. That's why there's player specific models for those bats. You get different variations of everything. You go to, you go to all the bat manufacturers and you say, all right, let's see what feels right and then make it feel right for me. And it just looks a little quirky, but it's the same gist. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, that's really all. I think it's kind of gonna be a non-story. It was just kind of fun to talk about because the Brewers pitching is really bad and the Yankees just lit them up. Although the Brewers did shut out the Reds today, 3rd consecutive game the Reds have lost 1-0. So that would piss me off. But
yeah, a couple of days after Ellie De La Cruz uses the weird torpedo bat and goes off, hits 2 home runs, has exit velocities well over 100 miles per hour for all of his hits and even outs. But it'll definitely be interesting to watch. I'm sure it'll follow the Yankees and other players that use it over the next couple of days. But definitely a fun thing to end this episode on. But covered a lot and we still didn't cover it all. I feel like there's a guy that definitely deserves an honorable mention. That's my guy, Will Smith, starting the year off strong, 7 straight games, getting a knock. So he's looking really good behind there. Let's see if he can do it for a full season. But anything else, Jake, before we close it out?
Yeah, I'll comment on Will Smith really quickly. First of all, if you're not following, you should be. But I posted on X a couple days ago that Will Smith is the first Dodger ever to have 3 consecutive seasons start with a 6-game hitting streak or more. So good for Will Smith, setting records. Him and Tommy Edman both have 8-game hitting streaks right now. First duo to do it since Mondesi and Karros back in '95. So lots of history happening right now. It's a fun time to be a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have content over the next couple days, especially over the weekend in Philadelphia. I will be there, and I will also be there in Washington, D.C., covering the team against the Nationals. Should be a fun pregame, postgame, all that stuff, whether it's on the website or on the YouTube side of things. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment on this video on anything that we talked about. Torpedo bats, were you thinking about Sasaki, all that stuff. If you weren't able to join the live conversation, be sure to leave a comment and your thoughts after. And definitely hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get 15K. We got a jersey giveaway courtesy of our guy, Doom Sal. But yeah, I think the Dodgers are in for a good season. Obviously, we know that. Now I'm just curious to see how the first road trip of the season is going to go. And they kick it off in a city that's, notoriously known for getting under the skin of the opposing fan bases and the opposing teams. So we'll see how the Dodgers, hit back against that. But that'll do it for this episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. We will see you in the next couple days on the next one. Have a good one.
See you guys.